be here because of all the different things that I've been doing over the years. The most formative time of my life was in the mental health services, and it's as relevant today in the work that I do as it was 28, 29 years ago. I want to focus on what we mean by good mental health and why it matters. And so I say at the outset that I'm not talking about mental health services. I want to talk about good mental health. I'll try and put that into context. And I know I'm talking to people who know a huge amount about this, but bear with me. The big question, I think, for us all is, what do we think we're for? Do we think it's to run an outcomes-focused, consumer-facing, efficient and well-regarded health service, mental health service, or is it to improve the health of the people? And if we think it's about improving services, and of course it is, you would have a series of strategies for that, and the NHS plan and the mental health part of that, a very crucial part of improving services. But I want to start in a different place, which is what we mean by good health and good mental health as an inseparable part of being well. How we think about this. So less about how long you live, how long you live in good health, and the difference in life expectancy and life in good health, about 20 years between Bradford and Guildford. And although we can be very proud of the improvements that have been made, and particularly in the mental health services over the last 20 to 30 years, there is still so much more to do. And this at a time when we're putting more money into services. Never quite enough, never all that we hope for, but more money. And yet we haven't seen any shift in life and good health over that period of time. In fact, people today who are at the poor end of income are only enjoying the health of where the affluent were 20 years ago. And that gap is increasing. Am I cheering you up? It can get worse, and I will get worse, but I'll try and cheer you up as well. Because at every stage in life, at every level of income, people are in better health than they were 20 years ago. It's just that gap remains as wide as ever. So there's something about what we're doing that's just not working. Does that make sense? So if everybody's getting a better, gradually better, but there's no improvement in closing of the gap, then there's something we're not getting right. So half of what matters to life in good health. So I'm focusing on life in good health, not how long you live, but in good health. Half of what matters, at the heart of that, is having a sufficient income. The biggest determinant of outcome is income. And the normal way of improving your income is to have a job. And obviously not any job, but improving work. Somewhere to live, where you feel safe. You can afford to put on the heating. And crucially, friendship, companionship, someone to care for and about. A leader of a northern council sought to persuade me of the importance of love in good health. And I said, steady on. No, I did. I said, I'm from north of the border. I said, I love everyone, but there's no touching. No, I did. I said, well, we settled on affection. The thing about this is, what I've spent years now is about a job, a home, and a friend. And lest we forget, there's as much science behind this as anything we do in clinical medicine. If we want people to be well and to stay well in mind and in body, the 4 things that I learnt from my time in the mental health services remain today. A reason for getting up in the morning. Something meaningful to do in the day. That doesn't have to be paid work. Enough money to live on. And friendship in your life. And when we talk about the importance of services, we need to, I think, in the first understanding is the context for that, getting the basics right. And about creating jobs in places that haven't enjoyed them, that local people can get. To ensure that we're as focused on improving housing as we are on health services. And in making sure that the sort of cohesion or social cohesion, the way that people get out and meet people is available to all and at all ages. If that's half of what matters, then what else matters? Well, the next third that matters are the choices we make. Who here smokes? Is that why you're sitting at the back? So I'm available afterwards for. And the thing about this is that half of the gap, that 19, 20-year gap, is still accounted for by smoking. Is that not extraordinary? What and how much we eat. So we've halved the numbers of smokers and doubled the numbers of folk that are overweight over the course of the last 20 years or so. What and how much we eat. Whether we ever exercise and how much alcohol we take. So I said I would try and get the balance right between being miserable and being fun, but I am the most miserable git in the United Kingdom. I am regularly traduced in the media for having a problem with everything you enjoy doing. Right? So, and my message is we just stop it, right? 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 Just stop it. Okay, just right. And yet, of course, everything is on that income gradient. So the more affluent you are, it's not that everybody's got choices, but the more affluent you are, the wider those choices are. And the other things that are going on in your life that drive you to choices. Everything from, stress and anxiety to debt to concern if you have a job about keeping it. If you don't have a job, about how to get one, and so on. But those choices account for about a third of what matters to life in good health. And I'm not making a distinction between mind and body, because they are inseparable. And then you get on to what can we do in service terms. That's when services start to kick in. It's that way round. Am I making sense? So the thing is about having humility. Not talking as some sort of smart guy. I'm part of this. It's have the humility to understand that we matter, but in service terms, not that much relative to these other concerns. That it's not diseases and conditions, institutions, professions, and disciplines that matter, but people living in a place. And if I say anything cheesy today, it's not what's the matter with you, but what matters to you. and how you stay well, and how we help people to stay well, how we help people to use the NHS less and later in life, how we help people to stay well for longer, when unwell, to stay in their own homes for longer, and crucially, to stay in work for longer. Who thinks they're going to retire at 65 here? That's very encouraging. Who thinks going to retire at 75? Perhaps, if you're fortunate. So, the old idea of 65 being elderly is, of course, nonsense, isn't it? I mean, it's just so out of people. We need, for the economy of this nation, for people to be in work and contributing. But that's because it's good for your health. Having a job is good for your health. Having a reason to complain is a human right. I've lost the about, because it's gotten a bit better recently. But I travelled with Southern Rail for, what else to talk about? But it's that social connectiveness bit, isn't it? Right? It's that reason for meeting, being. So, reason for getting up, something to do, enough money to live on, someone to care for and about. Now, I know many folk will be talking today about the NHS contribution, and please do not misunderstand me. I respect and honour, and in the third sector, and all the others that are contributing. And if anybody understands what I'm sharing with you this morning, it's you. And it's about how we share and spread and tell that story about what we mean by good health and what we mean by good mental health. It's not just a moral issue about why we should be concerned about this. It's not just because people matter that we should be concerned about this, or that we can make a difference, because we know we can. It's also an economic concern for this country. We need people to stay well for longer in mind and in body. We need people contributing. This country needs that from its people. We need to invest in the health of our people. You'll hear a lot about the Concordat for preventing to creating good mental health, about the work on suicide. You'll hear a whole lot about how we're using data better, about how we're creating stronger literacy, better understanding of what we mean by mental health and how we talk about it. And you'll hear some exciting things about to do about putting mental health, taking it to the next level, about public awareness about what we mean by good mental health. In this instance, not about severe mental illness, schizophrenia, psychosis, bipolar disorder, but about the common mental health problems that people face. There are 7. You'll know what they are: trouble sleeping, low mood, stress, anxiety, how to deal with a rotten boss. There's all advice from Public Health England. And we'll be launching a new campaign in October, which will be a first for this country and in the world, looking at how we can get, for people who are struggling, and for those that care for people who are struggling, and in the workplace, some really good advice about where help can be found. So can I just say thank you for having me? I'm looking forward to being part of the panel and to congratulate you on organising this day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.